For more now on Argentina's economy, I'm joined by Cecilia Nahon. She's Argentina's former ambassador to the United States and also a professor at American University here in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Hi.
So we just saw an example of some of the problems the economy is having in Argentina. The latest data indicates a 2.2% drop in GDP from February of last year to this year. What do you attribute that to?
As you say, there has been a very disappointing performance of the Argentine economy over the last year and a half. It's been a year struggling in the economy. And I think that it's basically because of the Macri's administration has put in place a very flawed approach in terms of the macroeconomic dealing of the economy. As soon as they got to office, they depreciated the currency 60%. This had a very important pass-through, so there was a strong rise of prices, 41% inflation in the first year during the Macri government, and this basically depressed domestic consumption. It depressed wages. Real wages were down 10%. The economy went through and is through a very significant stagflation process, and this is not good for the Argentine people, not at all.
Of course, he came into office talking about all of this public-private partnerships, especially in the infrastructure sector, leveraging billions of dollars to build roads and bridges. Is that not working at all to address this inflation issue?
Well, those are still promises. That hasn't been seen so far. There hasn't been a significant growth in infrastructure investment yet. He keeps saying it's going to come. We hope it will come. But the truth is that during the first year, investment has really been very stagnant. And most of the government's promise haven't been achieved. Significantly, I want to highlight one thing, poverty. You know that one of his promises also was that poverty was going to be hardly combated, hardly fight back. In the first year of his government, poverty not only didn't decline, but it went up. 1.5 million Argentines went to poverty. And this is a very problematic situation. Inequality is also rising. So there's a lot of concern. People are losing their jobs, and companies are closing in Argentina. So we hope to see progress in the future, and infrastructure investment may help, but that's not a reality yet.
And as part of the problem with infrastructure investment, the climate that you're talking about for investors, how welcoming is Argentina to investors right now?
Well, the climate to investors, I think, is very much related with the profitability of investment. And the main problem right now is that financial speculation in Argentina has become a huge business. So basically, so-called investors put their money into the country, they make short-term financial profits, and then they take their money very easily outside of the country, because there has been a very significant deregulation, a very extreme, I mean, we're talking about an extreme deregulation of the balance of payments. So with so much profitability in the financial, speculative, short-term investments, there's no it's not attractive to get involved in real investment, you know, in productive investments, in developments of new plants, of new manufacturing. There's a very significant data. Argentina is now at its lowest used manufacturing capacity in a decade. So there's a lot of capacity in Argentina that is not being used. So it's hard to convince investors to get more money there.
And you're convinced there's a market for that?
Yeah, well, for that you need growth in salaries, growth in consumption, and growth in exports. Those all things have been very challenging. Again, we hope the government will take note and make the changes. But so far, it's been a very orthodox liberalization package that is really undoing all the social progress. And it has created a crisis, a very severe stagflation in the country.
And of course, Argentina's neighbors are having their own sets of corruption scandals. Venezuela, obviously, has its own set of problems with some of the same economic factors. How does that impact the region of Mercosur and really the eastern half of the South American continent from an economic perspective?
Well, Brazil is Argentina's largest trading partner. China is Argentina's second trading partner. And Brazil going through a very significant crisis has certainly not been good. The exports of Argentina to Brazil have gone down, and China has slowed a little bit its growth, so that's impacting as well. I think that Latin America is facing a very challenging situation in general. We hope that the region can really come together, strengthen its links, and relate with the rest of the world in a much more integrated way. I think that when Argentina and its neighbors work together to relate with the US or with China, with other countries, it was much better for our people. So that's a big challenge at the moment.
Well, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it there. Cecilia Nahon, we really appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica.